Reading the Red, we begin Matthew 22. For instance, it can be illustrated by the story of a king who prepared a great wedding dinner for his son. Many guests were invited, and when the banquet was ready, he sent messengers to notify everyone that it was time to come. But all refused. So he sent other servants to tell them, "Everything is ready, and the table is set. Hurry!" But the guests he had invited merely laughed and went on about their business, one to his farm, another to his store. Others beat up his messengers and treated them shamefully, even killing some of them. Then the angry king sent out his army and destroyed the murderers and burnt down their city. And he said to his servants, "The wedding feast is ready, and the guests I invited aren't worthy of the honor. Now go out to the street corners and invite everyone you see." So the servant did, and brought in all they could find, good and bad alike. And the banquet hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to meet the guests, he noticed a man who wasn't wearing the wedding robe provided for him. "Friend," he asked, "how does it happen that you are here without a wedding robe?" And the man had no reply. Then the king said to his aides, "Bind him hand and foot, and throw him out into the outer darkness, where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen." You hypocrites, who are you trying to fool with your trick questions? Here, show me a coin. Whose picture is stamped on it? And whose name is there beneath the picture? Well then, give it to Caesar if it is his, and give God everything that belongs to God. Your error is caused by your ignorance of the Scriptures and of God's power. For in the resurrection there is no marriage. Everyone is as the angels in heaven. But now, as to whether there is a resurrection of the dead, don't you even read the Scriptures? Don't you realize that God was speaking directly to you when he said, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob"? So God is not the God of the dead, but he is the God of the living. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second most important is similar. Love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. All the other commandments and all the demands of the prophets stem from these two laws and are fulfilled if you obey them. Keep only these, and you will find that you are obeying all the others. What about the Messiah? Whose son is he? Then why does David, speaking under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, call him Lord? For David said, "God said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies beneath your feet." Since David called him Lord, how can he be merely his son? You would think these Jewish leaders and these Pharisees were Moses, the way they keep making up so many laws. And of course, you should obey their every whim. It may be all right to do what they say, but above everything else, don't follow their example. For they don't do what they tell you to do. They load you with impossible demands that they themselves don't even try to keep. Everything they do is done for show. They act holy by wearing on their arms little prayer boxes with scriptures verses inside, and by lengthening the memorial fringes of their ceremonial robes, and how they love to sit at the head table at banquets and in the reserved pews in the synagogue, how they enjoy the deference paid them on the streets, and to be called Rabbi and Master. Don't ever let anyone call you that, for only God is your Rabbi, and all of you are on the same level as brothers. And don't address anyone here on earth as Father, for only God in heaven should be addressed like that. And don't be called Master, for only one is your Master, even the Messiah. The more lowly your service to others, the greater you are. To be the greatest, be a servant, but those who think themselves great shall be a disappointment and disappointed and humbled, and those who humble themselves shall be exalted. Woe to you, Pharisees, and you other religious leaders, hypocrites, for you won't let others enter the kingdom of heaven, and you won't go in yourself. And you pretend to be holy with all your long public prayers in the streets, while you are evicting widows from their homes. Hypocrites! Yes, woe upon you, hypocrites, for you go to all length to make one convert, and then turn him into twice the son of hell you are yourself. Blind guides, woe unto you! For your rule is that to swear by God's temple means nothing. You can break the oath, but to swear by the gold in the temple is binding. Blind fools! Which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And you say that to take an oath by the altar can be broken, but to swear by the gifts on the altar is binding. Blind! For which is greater, the gift on the altar or the altar itself that sanctifies the gift? When you swear by the altar, you are swearing by it and everything on it. And when you swear by the temple, you are swearing by it and by God who lives in it. And when you swear by heavens, you are swearing by the throne of God and by God himself. Yes, woe upon you, Pharisees, and you other religious leaders, hypocrites, for you tithe down to the last mint leaf in your garden, but ignore the important things, justice and mercy and faith. Yes, you should tithe, but you shouldn't leave the more important things undone. Blind guides, you strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, Pharisees, and you religious leaders, hypocrites! You are so careful to polish the outside of the cup, but the inside is foul with extortion and greed. Blind Pharisees! First cleanse the inside of the cup, and then the whole cup will be clean. Woe to you, Pharisees, and you religious leaders! You are like a beautiful mausoleum full of dead men's bones and of foulness and corruption. You try to look like saintly men, but underneath those pious robes of yours are hearts besmirched with every sort of hypocrisy and of sin. Yes, woe to you, Pharisees, and you religious leaders, hypocrites! For you build monuments to the prophets killed by your fathers, and lay flowers on the graves of the godly men they destroyed, and say, we certainly would never have acted as our fathers did. In saying that, you are accusing yourselves of being the sons of wicked men, and you are following in their steps, filling up the full measure of their evil. Snakes, sons of vipers, how shall you escape the judgments of hell?
I will send you prophets and wise men and inspiring writers, and you will kill some by crucifixion and rip open the backs of others with whips in your synagogues and hound them from city to city, so that you will become guilty of all the blood of murdering godly men from the righteous, Abel to Zechariah, slain by you in the temple between the altar and the sanctuary. Yes, all the accumulation judgment of the centuries shall break upon the heads of this very generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones all those God sends to her. How often I have wanted to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks beneath her wings, but you would not let me. And now your house is left to you, desolate. For I tell you this, you will never see me again until you are ready to welcome the one sent to you from God.